The future of education looks at people at the level of their talent, and we invest in them.
Get everyone access to quality education.
We have to introduce technology early in our education programs.
Students should be at the table when decisions are made about them.
We build an inclusive Africa that understands the talents and gifts that everyone has.
We need to reinvent and reimagine our own model.
We learn it, we teach it, and it stays, and we pass it on.
This is not a task that a single player can do on their own.
We're not saying we're vulnerable people, no.
Young people are the leaders of tomorrow, no. Young people are the leaders of today.
It's about an expansion of possibility in the mind of that young person.
At the heart of this story is a generation full of promise and a continent standing at a defining moment. What that promise becomes will depend on how boldly we invest in young people and how ready our education systems are for the future they are stepping into.
It's so important to invest in young people, especially young people in Africa. Not only are they the future, this is a moment in history when we are all witnessing a powerful demographic shift where this continent will be the youngest continent in the world. And that means a workforce, a future generation of leaders and innovators and Nobel Prize winners will come from Africa.
By 2050, Africa will have a population of 2.6 billion people. That will be about 27% of the world population living in Africa. Our current education will not be able to provide opportunities for that unless it is tweaked. And ideally, we need to make education to focus on critical thinking and problem solving, because that's the challenge we have in Africa.
We boast about we'll have a workforce larger than India or China in the next decade. That's not true. We'll have a youth population larger than India and China. If you don't educate it, if you don't give it skills, it will remain a population, not talent. So today, Africa has a youthful population. It doesn't have a workforce, a large workforce. So we need a massive investment in skills, education.
And that is really the task in front of us. How do we turn a youthful population into a generation equipped to work, lead, and thrive? It starts with education, skills, and the support to make that transition real.
When you look at our mandate as an organization and the clear goal of the Mastercard Foundation, it's about empowering youth to get meaningful work and life as well, which connects with education. You cannot expect a better future of our young people if they are not equipped with education and skills, and therefore supporting their transition to the labor market.
And that kind of preparation begins with the people shaping learning every day. Teachers.
Les enseignants constituent le socle de cette refondation, de cette retransmission et de cette nouvelle configuration du système éducatif. Et tout passe par la formation de ces enseignants. S'ils comprennent bien les enjeux et s'ils sont formés à ces nouveaux enjeux, on est presque sûr que l'école sera plus performante parce que dans les classes, on a l'enseignant qu'il faut pour transmettre les connaissances qu'il faut.
I think that the policy of the country has been really geared towards promoting this kind of learning, right? Competency-based learning, for instance.
Right.
The introduction of this way of learning was geared to sort of like promote where you learn and you become competent, fully increase the competency in the subject. But the way in which that happens, as I indicated, is to actually connect the mind and the hands. You learn by doing. And I think that's sort of like what we've been trying to do.
And teaching should be more learner-based than facilitator-based. You have to get to find out the things essential and what the kids would want to know or would need to know and how they will need to know them.
And that matters even more now, because the world those learners are stepping into is changing fast.
We are in a moment of change across the world with artificial intelligence. It is rapidly changing the world around us. The world of work is very different. We cannot assume that globalization, the principles of globalization will continue and that work will naturally migrate to this continent. So we need to be prepared for a very different world and a very different future. And with that, I believe partnership with government, and in particular with technology companies, will be incredibly important so that we're preparing our students for the reality of the world that exists once they leave after their degrees.
And when education begins to respond to that changing world, you see it in what young people are able to do with their lives and in how they begin to lift others with them.
The opportunities that has opened up for me through education is, for example, look at me, I'm an engineer now. As you can see, like I can now earn a living, support my siblings through that, and I can also encourage my future community and generation to come, showing them that this is possible, really. You don't have to be discouraged in any way.
Getting a degree in social work, being a social worker that I am today, I never thought would be possible. Now I support other girls through the collective Comfort Association Fund that we have in our district. And as an individual, I also support children. On average, I support 10 children in my village to go to school with school uniform, with stationery, with menstrual pads, and with also some food hampers.
I have formed a group whereby we reach out to girls and to the interiors, to the community, educating them about the girls' rights and their needs to be educated and to be given a chance to pursue their education.
Behind stories like these is a simple conviction that where a young person begins should not decide how far they can go.
We believe strongly that everyone, irrespective of his or her beginnings, should have the opportunity to learn and prosper. And you will find that young people who are talented, but they come from disadvantaged backgrounds. So the Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program aims to take young people from very, very disadvantaged backgrounds, the ones that would never step out when you go out on the street and says, I have a scholarship.
And sometimes the first change is internal, in the confidence to believe you belong.
At first, I thought I couldn't fit in because this is a male-centered world. So me being a girl, it felt like impossible. I felt like I couldn't do it. But look at me now. I'm actually ahead of my teammates. I'm actually leading them.
Education is power. Girl child empowerment.
Partners like the Mastercard Foundation, without them, we are not who we are right now. We are not the future selves that we see ourselves being.
That kind of support does more than open opportunity. It also changes how young people think, solve problems, and imagine what is possible for themselves.
I feel like a lot of people in the job market right now are taught to do something in a linear way. They never learn to think outside the box, per se. ALX flipped a switch in my mind that allowed me to actually realize that with the information I've managed to research, there's another way I can fix this. And there's another way I can optimize a solution for this problem.
If you think about it, most devs just look at job employment, maybe in a big organization. But once I joined ALX, I was able to understand that you will not just be a developer, but you can also be an entrepreneur.
I think Mastercard Foundation for recognizing the critical points and the critical issues on the continent. And one of them is education. Education does not necessarily mean high school, university. That thought pattern that has been introduced to us that the only way you can make it in life is if you go to uni. No.
Because the question is not only what education should be, but who it must make room for.
We do believe that every person has potential, including leadership potential, right? And if that holds true, then we need to lower the barrier to entry. And if we also believe that this potential can be developed, that everybody within themselves have these abilities to become leaders, to become entrepreneurs, and they can be coached, they can be helped to become better, then we want to make sure that we are not sort of already pre-selecting people who have a predisposition already to being leaders, to being entrepreneurs, to taking initiatives, that there are others as well who are able to come through.
Taking up the courses changed my mindset on how I view challenges. So now when I see a challenge, I am motivated to sort it and find a solution for it.
But confidence on its own is not enough. It also takes the right tools, spaces and pathways to turn that potential into solutions.
What AIMS is trying to do is to bridge that gap by the use of science and technology, by training Africans' youth to be able to use science and technology to address, to solve the challenges, and actually to transform those challenges into opportunities for the benefit of everyone here.
STEM-educated youth, for one, their minds are agile. It is easier for a young person to learn coding and the latest technological solutions than it is for me to learn those things today. Two, they're more in touch with societal needs. Three, you're more creative when you're younger. So, and it's a large demographic, and they understand the challenges in a very different mindset from the way perhaps the rest of us understood. So the question for them is, and the challenge for them is to understand the challenges and come up with creative solutions that leverage technology.
I really wanted to create a space where young people can get exposure to technology at such a young age. And my experience, even traveling abroad and seeing what other young kids outside the continent were doing, really inspired me to create Jenga Labs. And at Jenga Labs, we're seeking to really inspire young innovators in the continent, allowing ourselves to be our own creators of our own. You create the solutions for our own problems through innovation.
Once young people begin to see what is possible, the next step is often finding others to build with, learn from, and grow alongside.
The reality is, as Africans, we are by default resilient. We are also very innovative in our approach. Because we don't have access to so many resources, we're able to look at what is available and make do with that. Over time, I've learned that the biggest form of wealth that you have as a young entrepreneur on the continent is other young people. Young people are more likely to employ and work with other young people. The way Shasha has been able to grow, it could not have grown without my peers that I went to the African Leadership University with, or to the University of Edinburgh, who in their own way have been part of telling this bigger story. I have had to tap into the communities of other innovative young people across Rwanda, Kenya, who have a community and say, hey, we're trying to do this. And they're like, come on board, let's work together.
A lot of the youth are complaining about the lack of opportunities. So I think the first thing we can do, obviously, is give the opportunities. But at the same time, give opportunities where people are actually able to apply those skills. It's one thing to have an internship program where you bring on interns and they sort of take on a very administrative role. And then there's a difference between taking on interns and actually giving them access to real-world projects. We look into the future. I think the skills that we need to focus on are skills around AI, data analytics, and machine learning. And I think that's something that we probably need to focus on going forward.
We're going to launch that library first with you guys.
And once those opportunities begin to open up, the next question becomes what young people choose to build with them.
You need to be able to know from the onset, what is it that you're hoping to imagine? For us at Shasha, we have a bold mission to reach 50 million young people and accelerate them into careers of impact by 2035. And we know that that is going to happen because our youth population is growing. And this mission has gone beyond being about the individual. It's now about a bigger cause. It's about communities. It's about building nations. And when you have that sort of momentum behind you, resources will find their way to you. So think big, be confident, start where you are, because you typically will not get funding for the final state of your idea. You will always be given funding based off of the traction that you've received. And I know it's not going to be easy, but this is why, as the entrepreneur, it is your job to go out and fight for your organization. Find the best talent, find the best mentors, and find the best ecosystems to embed yourself in so that you can make things happen.
You keep on asking yourself, is this truly my passion? But how are you going to know if it is or not if you don't try it? The journey is discovering. The journey is not knowing. The journey is discovering.
The missing piece in our education system is, how do we not only churn out great talent, but how do we market them for the world? Because if we are not celebrating our talent at home, then we cannot sell our talent globally.
Because recognizing talent is one part of the journey. The other is making sure young people are equipped for the opportunities the future will demand.
Thinking about Africa as a continent, we have the largest portion of our population are young people that need to be skilled for the work of the future, which involves a lot of digital aspects and digital jobs, and making sure that they have those skills if they're going to thrive in this digital economy that the world is heading towards. If our people don't have the right digital skills and literacy, that's the fastest way to ensuring that they're being excluded from all of these important opportunities. And so it's going to be a lifeline for how our people access opportunities, on how they can thrive in the future that is being shaped primarily by these digital technologies.
Others will be inspired. They'll see that I too can do it. And the institutions which are participating in this program with us, they themselves will also change and start taking in more students, even beyond what we can support as Mastercard Foundation, so that over time it becomes also the way, the mindset, the culture of the institutions we're working with. That's our hope.
The future is very exciting. When I think about the kind of policies in place, it's very exciting to think what's possible in the next 10 years. A lot of these investments in education, you don't see the result right away. It takes time for you to be able to see, to really see the progress and the impact. But it's still very exciting when being part of the big of this journey where we are planting seeds.
I think the headline will talk about three things: systemic change, because it's at a society level. It will be more towards people-centered education programs, because it's the individual scholars who will have caused that headline, with the impact they will have had in society. But that headline will talk about the power of private-public partnerships. This has been a partnership between government, private sector, and the foundations, learning people together. So it can be about lessons. And lastly, the fourth one, it can be about impact and putting Africa on a firm road to socio-economic transformation with its own homegrown solutions centered on the people and people-driven.
And the role of ADEA is therefore is to keep up creating opportunities for education and these young people to be able to get exposed, but also to expose what they have been doing and then what they would like to do to get actually access to the kind of resources that are needed to make the change.
And at its best, education is doing more than opening doors. It is helping young people lead with purpose, serve others, and carry responsibility well.
We are speaking here of leadership that is transformative, leadership that is grounded in ethical values, leadership built on integrity, and most importantly, leadership which transcends the self and is about being in service to the continent, in service to communities, in service to bettering people's lives. All of this is important, and it begins with education. Education that takes us well beyond reading and writing and counting, but education that opens up the mind, just as it opens up the heart.
Une nation ne peut se transformer qu'à partir de son capital humain. Et ce capital humain bien formé, avec une bonne performance scolaire, mais le bon comportement, le civisme, la citoyenneté, ben c'est la nation qui gagne, c'est la nation qui est outillée. We designed the program in such a way that at the end of the one-year training, the students are all very well equipped to either engage directly with the industry, or those who wish, they can pursue with research by doing a PhD. Designing such a program to prepare the student to different kinds of perspectives in terms of career, the students are constantly challenged with real-life problems. How they can use mathematical sciences, how they can use the tools, STEM tools, to address and solve real-life problems, so that at the end, mathematical sciences is not just like a subject, but it's something that can serve.
And that is the kind of education young people are calling for.
My aspirations for the future of education in Africa is seeing an education that is practical and tailored to young Africans, enabling them to be able to solve real-life challenges they go through in their different communities.
What keeps me optimistic about African leadership is just the sheer passion that I see day in, day out in the eyes, in the heart, in the minds of these young people that I've had the privilege to work with in the last 15 years. I look at how passionate they are about this Pan-African movement, something that is truly unique to the continent. While you can be a proud Nigerian, a proud Kenyan, a proud Ugandan, it is not hard to find a young African who also believes concurrently that Pan-Africanism is the way to advance the prosperity of this continent.
I hope to see institutions emerging from Africa that are Ivy League, you know. I would one day be so proud to hear that we have an institution like Oxford or like MIT or like Harvard that are emerging within the African continent. That would just be pride on its own.
And that pride has to be matched by action, because the cost of delay is already being felt in the lives of young people.
I think it's about time that we force our leaders to see the role that they can play. If they can play, we're going to start showing them, and they're going to come on board. I can tell you they will come on board. For me, as an African person, I'm sick and tired of seeing all those young boys and girls dying at sea because there's no future. I can't take it anymore. We can't lose life anymore. We can't afford. It's a luxury that we as a human being, we can't afford.
What keeps me hopeful about Africa's future is that we have young people. And I'm also hopeful because of initiatives like the MasterCard Foundation and what they've done to invest in these young people. Right? So as a young person, see yourself as part of the greatest asset that Africa has. Invest in yourself and build that resilience and the ability to do hard things, because it's a tough world out there. No one owes you anything, right? You have to learn how to navigate it yourself. And if you do that, you'll be set up for success. But if you're sitting and waiting for someone to give you something, you will not be successful.
Africa is the last continent globally to come to the demographic peak. All the other continents have already gone on the other side of the curve. So for us, this period until 2050 is so important. We have to do everything we can so that the young people in Africa are able to seize and access opportunities in Africa and globally. I don't think there's any choice.
And even with all that urgency, change does not happen in a single moment. It happens step by step as opportunity opens, confidence grows, and young people begin to move closer to the futures they imagined.
Life takes us through many parts. In fact, every chapter is a stepping stone. It's not necessarily going to be a straight path. And just like everything that opens a door, one door opens another door, which you're going to walk through. And so it's important to recognize that it's a process and to believe. And by the way, the data bears it out. In everything we've seen, in baseline after baseline, of young people who have been through many programs, including the programs of the MasterCard Foundation, we see year on year, when we survey and ask young people, where are you now? Are you closer? And for many people, they're able to say, yes, I am.